of all, I'm going to talk about three main points from the government, which is what the detrimental effects of climate changes on the environment, the and scientifically undeniable statistic and research done on the effects of man-made pollution and the difference between freedom of speech and fake news. Before getting into those points, I would like to discuss about climate change and diminishing food security. Rising temperatures are affecting our climate, and as a result, it affects our environment and the function it delivers. One such key function is nutrient replenishment. Climate change puts nutrient cycles at risk, which has a knock-on effect on soil fertility. Such effect is not only important in terms of preserving biodiversity and habitats, but it is also critical for agricultural activity and food security. More specifically, as soils become drier with climate change, this impact nitrogen and carbon concentration, which are the building blocks of plant growth. What is more, climate change is likely to change the landscape in many areas. Temperature and climate change can lead to the proliferation of pests, which can now inhabit higher latitudes as those regions grow warmer. Some pests will be able to reproduce more often because warm periods will last longer. For example, in the now beetle-infested forests of the Kenai Peninsula of Alaska, the pine bark beetle often completes two or three reproduction cycles per year instead of only one. That's all from me.
I thank the Prime Minister, the government Prime Minister, for the speech given. Now I shall invite opposition leader to give their speech. Here.
I will start the debate in three, two.
Wait. Before you start,
All right.
which one are you? Who's talking?
Hamirul. Hamirul.
Hamirul. All right, good. Okay, you can start.
All right. So I will start the debate in three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to a Judy.
Oppo leader, are you there? He lost connection. It's alright. Just wait a few minutes. Timekeeper, you can stop the time for a sec. We should wait for him to reconnect. Okay, good. Um, so we shall wait for 2 minutes. If the speaker hasn't reconnected yet, maybe the second or third speaker can be the iron speaker, replacing him.
He's still reconnecting.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
so sorry.
It's alright.
All right, now he's in backstage, waiting for the host to admit.
Speech and also publication. Hello?
Hi.
Hello, you can hear me? All right,
Yes,
so
yes.
sorry,
Start all over
sorry,
again.
because I have, right,
It's alright.
so, all over. Right, so I will start the debate in 3, 2, 1. A very good morning to wise educators, to the members of the host, and also to my respectful opponents from the government side. So we, the opposition teams, I disagree with the motions that this house will ban any speech and publication climate. So to rebut on what the government has mentioned just now, that they didn't mention or answer the motion, why would they ban those publication and deny man-made climate change, So who right now, so I will answer for the government side what is speech, what is a publication. So uh, would not ban any speech and publication means as opposition sides will allow any speech and publication be made. We agree that climate change is man-made. So publications is in the forms of news and social media, while the speech is any individuals or person who talk in front of the people, who talk public city in front of in front of a lot of people. Who's involved in this debate, ladies and gentlemen? Of course, everyone, all of us in this environment and those who cause pollution. So the status quo right now, of course, the climate change are also caused by the humans. We, as a human itself, have a lot of illegal activities which climate change. So the magic of the debate is we would consider if any speech and publication should be should not be banned in order to agree that human is the causer of the climate change. So here's come my rebuttals. So why or publications is important in order to agree that humans are the factors of the climate change, because the power of speech in changing minds that humans are also factors of climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, words are powerful, and when it used well, they can incite people to both good and evil. They give those in positions of power, power, and a lot of it. And I would just say everyone has right to voice. Everyone has right to talk their opinion in front of the peoples, because the organizations are even more, how to say, listen to those who are to those speech made by the normal people out there. So
Why?
if the speech can change the minds can change the minds that humans are also the factors of the climate change, it will spread awareness to the peoples that the climate change are not caused naturally. It's also caused by humans, such as we humans have a lot of illegal burning. We are also cause of water pollutions. We are cause of air pollutions, and also our overpopulations of humans. Also, one of the factor that cause climate change. So
POI,
POI.
you mentioned that we didn't back up our point on why any speech or publication denying man-made climate change should be banned. But the thing is, we mentioned that the effects of climate change are detrimental on our environment, and it is proven through scientific studies. So are you saying that even though we have scientific proof, we should be naive We should be naive and just allow people to publicate and do speeches denying man-made man-made climate changes.
Of course, for those who make this speech is not someone who don't have any knowledge about what happened right now. The status quo, they know the status quo right now. That's why they are speak in front a lot of people to spread awareness that this climate change are factors by the human itself. It's not only occurs nature. It's human itself one of the factor for the climate change, ladies and gentlemen. So
UI?
while everyone has right to say whatever he or she wants, those with influence over audiences have the responsibility to exercise their free speech and vigilance. While speech can be and is used benevolently, is also nefariously. Examples of either are indeed here. The evidence for both is plentiful and ever growing. The media are not the only ones with this responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, the social media right now, the news right now are very influenced that people will believe whatever content inside the social media. And if we spread the awareness, if we spread
UI.
this proof that humans are one of the factor that cause the of course, the people out there will believe that the humans are cause one of the factor for the climate change. So anybody who has influence over any number of peoples is aware of the impact of their words. So words matter, and saying certain things can have unforeseen consequences. The expressions "be careful what you wish for" wasn't created in a vacuum, ladies and gentlemen. So for the worst case scenario that we opposition side have is that if uh, if people who have no knowledge or have no information about why the humans are one of the factors for the climate change, of course, by through speech, the people who are doing the speech will spread the awareness and encourage people to decrease those to reduce those illegal activities that cause the climate change, such as illegal forest burning or deforestation and so on. So with that, we the opposition side like to oppose.
Okay, I thank the opposition leader for his speech. I shall now invite Government Deputy Prime Minister to give his speech. Here.
Very good morning. I bid to the honorable adjudicators and everyone present here today. Now, before going into my points, I'd like to reinstate the motion for today. Reinforce the motion for today. The motion for today is this House would ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. The key word here is denying man-made climate change. All right? So remember that. Okay. Now, the opposition has mentioned that people with influence, for example, these influencers and so forth, they have the awareness to spread the truth. But the thing is, we are not talking about the truth. We're talking about denying man-made climate change. And that is for sure not the truth, because I know that you agree that we as mankind, we have caused detrimental damage to the environment. The amount of emissions we are releasing is detrimental. So for you to say that it's okay for speeches and publication to deny these man-made climate changes is completely irresponsible, because it is scientifically proven, which is my point. My point is, it is scientifically undeniable. There are scientifically undeniable statistics and research on the effects of man-made climate change, the effects of man-made climate changes. And the thing is, when we're talking about science, we're talking about research, it is clear cut it is clear cut that mankind has caused damage to the environment, has caused these climate change problems. And uh, talking about statistics, I'd like to get into a specific statistic that I read just now. The impacts of climate change to human health are much scarier than any clown movie, I'm telling you. The rising temperatures, coupled with the growing number of people in cities and an increasing amount of the elderly population, these increased heat-related deaths, according to the 2018 study in the Lancet, the report concluded that the lack of adaptive capacities and efforts towards reducing emissions threatens humans' lives and national health systems that people rely on. By pushing services to their limit and disrupting core infrastructure, vulnerable communities are already being hit first and being hit hard. But hyperthermia isn't the only risk climate change brings to human lives. Higher temperatures worsens air quality, negatively affects crop production, increases the spread of infectious diseases, and threatens freshwater deposits. And now you're telling me that it's okay to deny these problems in the publications, in the media. I believe that is completely and utterly ridiculous, to be frank with you, because the truth is we are facing this problem and we need to fix it as soon as possible. And by not banning, essentially we are encouraging people, not necessarily encouraging, but the thing is we are allowing people to make statements that may, because you mentioned that these social media influencers and the media has influence on the general population. And when we're talking about banning speech and publication denying man-made climate change, we're talking about banning the idea that we are going into the future uh, that doesn't have this problem, but we do, and it's undeniable. So I think it's clear cut that we need to ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate changes, because it is detrimental. This is important for our society to move on and humanity to survive this, essentially. Just to let you know, the last 7 years has been the warmest on record for the entire Earth. The last 7 years, if this doesn't show how problematic, how urgent we need to solve this problem, I don't know what will. Because if you're saying that we don't need to ban these publications and anything denying man-made climate change, you're saying that it is not really important. But the thing is, it is important, and we need to face it, and we need to fix it as soon as possible. So when you said about influence, especially when I heard the word influence, that played a really big role, because personally I think that the way you're understanding this motion is a bit off, because I understand. I think you definitely believe that mankind right now has been causing problems towards the environment and so forth. And freedom of speech and fake news, there is a big difference between freedom of speech and fake news. Freedom of speech is about freeing yourself to make statements that will be beneficial towards society. For example, the Black Lives Matter movement and so forth. That is beneficial towards society. But when you're talking about freedom of speech in regards to climate change, it has absolutely no benefit for society, because it is going to make us go slower. We are not going to solve this problem any soon if this is what we're going towards. We have to act fast. We have to do the right steps in order to tackle climate change in our world right now. And banning any speech and publication denying man-made climate change is the right way to go. Uh, with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
I thank the Deputy Prime Minister for his speech. let's continue with deputy leader of opposition. Here.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
One more.
Wait, just to confirm, government is KMM, right?
Yes, government is.
And opposition is Unimas, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, you can start now.
I will begin. Partner. Okay.
Switch on your cam if you can. It's highly recommended.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just change my avatar. Hmm. I have to log in to upload more background. So
You can start now.
okay, I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, today on our side, opposition, we are debating, on whether we believe that this house would not ban a speech and publication denying man-made climate change. So, before I move on to my rebuttals and argumentation, I'd just like to give a context again on this debate. So, we of the opposition side will not do not think that it is good to ban these speeches and publications denying made climate change, as our status quo of today is obviously these speeches and publications of against climate change is still can be done, and the government wants to ban it. So the stakeholders of today's debate is the society, um, who are want to like voice their opinions and stuff. And then the metric of today's debate is should any forms of speech and publication denying man-made climate change be banned, and why is it justified? So we of the opposition side believe that it should not be banned. Before I move on to my arguments, I'll start with my rebuttals. Their prime minister mentioned earlier, about the prime minister mentioned about detrimental effects on climate change. Obviously, that yes, there are detrimental effects on climate change, and we everything it's undeniable that climate change caused a lot solely from man-made problems. Yes, that is true. Rising climate and whatnot. But however, the prime minister of the government side actually failed to contextualize today's debate on, how is it really of any relation to the speech and publication. But of course, it later elaborated by their deputy prime minister. So the deputy prime minister focused a lot on climate change and its negative effects, which is obviously because we want to ban these publications and speeches. But that's the thing; they aren't really focused on the main debate of today's motion, is whether whether these speeches, publications denying man-made climate change should be banned. We of the opposition side, moving on with my arguments, we believe that they should not be banned because these speeches and publications they actually allow discussions. So think of it, if you ban this sort of platform, this where you can publicize your arguments, your ideas, or whatever information or debatable information that you may have on climate change, by banning publications, that is completely gone, and there is no longer a
POI.
possible discussion of hold on. And aside from that, also argument these speeches and publications also allow for qualitative reviews. So obviously we know that man are the number one cause of climate change, but there are also other we can also through these publications, speeches, they can be qualitative reviews of why men how, why, and these sort of actions from men affect climate change. And so, yes, POI.
Yes, my POI. You mentioned that I'd like to mention that there is a difference between publication denying man-made climate change and publication that has scientific credibility. And you're talking about discussing the discussion that builds towards a better future, in which that we need the scientific credibility. And when talking about publication straight up denying man-made climate change, that is off the topic, because we know and it is solidified that climate change is real.
Okay. Yeah, but still, with these publications and speeches, of course, it is, as I'm saying, it's open to discussion. I mean, there is obviously scientific evidence and whatnot proving that climate change is real, but actually, other causes of climate change, which are forms of natural climate change, like volcanic eruptions, which is like the main effects of volcanoes have on climate, in just like short-term cooling, when volcanic eruptions put out clouds of dust and ash, and it blocks out some of the sunlight, and these ash particles are relatively heavy, they fall to the ground, and it's sort of similar. Also, the debris also contains like stuff like sulfur dioxide, which is also bad, which is like obviously similar to like aerosol sprays and whatnot. Even ocean currents, are a major component of climate change, because actually, if you didn't know, ocean currents are located really deep under the water, and when they move horizontally at global scales, they're interconnected. The interconnected current or circulation system powered by the wind actually masses influence the currents, and the density driven and different from the surface currents affects the climate as well. Heat is released to the atmosphere, from the heat is released to the atmosphere, and then the warm surface current and sea line deep current. So actually, there are other forms of other factors contributing to climate change, which is why through these publications, through these open discussions, as I mentioned, they don't necessarily, obviously, they are more catered to denying man-made climate change, but they can also be open to other causes, of potential reasoning as to why climate change exists in the first place. And finally, moving on to my next point is what exactly, can be achieved by banning these speeches and publications. Obviously, we can, if the government really wanted to ban these things, they maybe will limit a certain access of fake news, as they like to say. As they say, fake news is different from these awareness. Yeah, fake news is from awareness, but well, there are still going to be other forms. There's still going to be people out there who are just, in denial and refute the fact that, man are the number one cause of climate change. So of course, maybe to a large extent, because it could be publications on like social media and whatnot, but these sorts of publications, these speeches, they can still, they won't be gone, completely. And to what extent, what parameter will they actually, how if will it actually be effective on preventing, on the spreading of awareness? So this is why we of the opposition side believe that speech and publication denying man-made climate change shouldn't be banned. With that, I probably oppose. Thank you.
I thank the DLO for his speech. Now I invite Government Whip to present his speech. Here.
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning to my fellow debaters and good morning to my fellow judges and my fellow debaters. Now, today I will retaliate what have the point have been stated so far by the opposing team. Now, first of all, from the Prime Minister, the power of speech, you say that the power of speech impose power. Yes, we know. And because the power of the speech, the imposed power and the freedom of speech can influence people, making them not care about the climate changes. Now, first of all, first and foremost, the topic says speech and publication banning about denying man-made climate changes. Now, none of you, Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, have stated that you are supporting the banning of public speech and publication denying man-made changes, and you are not denying man-made climate changes. And when the deputy prime minister says about volcanic eruption, it make no sense, because volcanic eruption is not man-made. It is it is natural from the under the water. Now, if you saying about volcanic eruption, meaning you are way off topic than what the motion have been stated so far. Now, the prime minister have said that having the power of speech denying man-made climate changes, for me, it is very, yes, you may.
So you agree that banning speech and also publications are helps to deny that the man-made climate change. What is other alternative from your side in order to influence people's that you deny the main made climate change? The human are the factors of the climate change. So that's my view.
Okay, now, first of all, we're not discussing about we're trying to searching for alternative about the man-made climate changes. We are trying to we as the government are trying to ban and the speech and publication denying man-made climate changes, because if you are if if you are denying man-made climate changes, you are, I'm sorry, you are, I'm not saying you're unknowledgeable, but it is fact, because scientific proof that man-made climate changes is one of the reason the climate changes occurs. Now, by banning the publication and the speech of denying man-made climate changes, we know that they don't have the power to influence any other people that trying to deny everyone that man-made climate changes are one of the factors occurs about the climate changes. Now, you said, Prime Minister, everyone believes social media. You said that, and I quote, everyone believes social media. Now, You say worst case scenario, they have no knowledge about man-made climate changes. Now, what is the equation when non-knowledgeable people and that the person who believe in social media, what are the equation about the climate change? It will become bad. Now, Deputy Prime Minister, you say it allows the discussion. First of all, publication will not allow discussion because it is publicized. You can't have a discussion in newspaper. You can't have discussion in social media. You may have no discussion about it. Now, second of all, when people speech, we don't discuss. We are speaking about facts. When they say that they deny man-made climate changes, they are simply said that man-made climate changes have no effect on man-made stuff have no effect on climate changes, which is totally false for me and the government team because scientific proven that man-made is one of the reason why climate changes happen. You can ask me what are the man-made cause of climate changes. First of all, greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect because of the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide from factories, exhaust, everything that man has created, carbon footprint, everything that everything that is man-made on this earth. Now, you say that allow discussion, it because speech doesn't allow discussion. People will stand on a stand and they will say that they deny man-made as the one of the reason man-made climate changes. Now, you say you say that we achieve the government achieve to limit speeches. Yes, for me it is a good thing we can limit speeches from someone who has no knowledge about man-made climate changes, because for me it is really reasonable. If someone said something that is utterly ridiculous, why should we don't ban them? Because it is absolutely false and you are spreading rumors and fake news and probably lies, to be honest. So what can be affected? Now, everything can affect climate changes, and including man-made. And you're not denying man-made climate changes. Please, come on, because the motion is about denying man-made climate changes. If you're not denying it, so you are really, really off topic. And for me, to what extent man-made climate changes can occur? To every extent possible, to be honest, to be frank and to be honest. And for me, I read a quote from David Cameron, and I quote, I believe man-made climate changes is one of the most serious threat that this country and this world face. Now, if you're saying you're not banning and publication denying man-made climate changes, it will be ridiculous for me, because climate changes that is man-made is the one of the reason people and the environment is having a climate changes. And now, if we're not banning the speech and publication, man-made climate change will still increase and increase and increase to the certain point of extent that we cannot do anything about it. So for now, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Government Whip, for the speech. Now let's hear a speech coming from Oppo Whip. Here.
Excuse me. My whip speaker is still in stage.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
She's still in backstage. Could you move her to the broadcast?
Oh yeah, sure.
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Climate change is the biggest threat we face. If you don't tackle it, the consequences are grim. We can tackle it, and yet we are. By what? By the freedom of speech, by publications on various platforms. The most important things that we can do as society, as normal people, are to stop the activities that cause it, enhance our resilience to its effects, and mostly talk about it. So, very good day to all. Great debate today. Even though the concept of freedom of speech on its face seems quite simple, in reality, there are complex lines that can be drawn around what kinds of speeches are protected and should be discussed by society. First of all, based on the government's point of view, the Prime Minister poorly constructed today's debate because he poorly characterized on how banning it will create a better society, a better future, as in abolishing, as in getting rid of climate change generally. So he poorly characterized on how banning publications and banning speech can bring a change in the world. So as what the government side has also stated, by banning freedom of speech, by banning freedom of speech, it can get rid of and avoid any false news getting towards the media and all. But ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, climate change is a big threat that we are facing right now. If we ban any type of discussion, if we ban any type of publication, or banning any type of freedom of speech on any platforms, it will it by these mutual discussions made online, there will be a healthy discussion, there will be a qualitative review. That was stated by my second speaker just now. It allows discussions because when we are discussing about a topic, a wide topic, where we are being forced to we are being forced to accept day by day, oh, it's our fault, it's man's fault, it's always man's fault, it's always man-made climate changes, always man-made climate changes. And this is one thing I would like to emphasize in when the whip stated that, oh, our second speaker, my second speaker stated that, oh, he's not clear, he clearly misunderstood debate for today. But ladies and gentlemen, he stated that volcanic eruptions, that you also yourself, you stated that, oh, it's not a man-made climate change factor, it's something that's made under the water. Yes, that is also a factor of climate change, not only
Why?
man-made. So these positive discussions are really good for allowing the societies to see a lot of these points of views. But before that, yes, we are.
I agree that we can have beneficial and healthy discussions on climate change. But the thing is, when we're talking about straight up denying man-made climate change, and you said about the volcano thing, we're not denying the volcano, that there's natural causes for climate change. We don't deny that at all. But the thing is, we are trying to ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. In essence, we're talking about fake news, because it is true that climate change is real. So denying that the humankind, humans cause climate change is utter nonsense, because we know that it's true. So denying it is completely out of topic, and it is not a healthy discussion at all.
Thank you, sir. I completely agree. But by you said by denying, right? So your stance, your side of the house, you're saying that, okay, by banning. So what about these people who have the mindset of not believing in, of having these climate change um, denials in them? So you're banning them straight away from publications and social media and all. So now you're saying you did not specify and propose a new way for them to gain knowledge and to have these positive reviews and feedbacks about what their own opinions are.
Why?
Because what the sorry, not now, let me continue what you said it from the first speaker just now. The first speaker did not, the Prime Minister did not engage fully about how banning it and how to cater towards those who have the belief of climate change denialism. So how would you cater to those who have this denialism mindset? So by banning them, that is not the right case in our side of the house, because the idealism of being goats by agreeing to everything that we are being told that. So such as banning any type of form of speech, even though you have the mindset that is different from other people. So by instilling this type of mindset where, oh, you are wrong, do not talk about it, do not talk about your mindset anywhere because it is wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, metaphorically, right? So the government side always stated that, oh, scientific, they're backing up with all these scientific researchers and all scientifically this is correct. So in our side of the house, why would we would not ban any type of denialism made on social media or any type of publication? It is because it provides really healthy discussions, because we all know these days people gain much more online, not only through like much more online. So metaphorically, scientifically, you're saying that yes, cancer cannot be cured. It is incurable. But these discussions online, so it seems like you're banning these discussions online to have these people to discuss. Oh, cancer can. What
No,
can we do to deter cancer, and what can we do to really avoid getting cancer? And also is stating that by banning all of these types of speeches, these freedom of speeches regarding denying climate change, yes, everything starts from a mindset, from a really strong mindset of us being in a denial. But when there are healthy discussions made online, that denialism that the government seems fantasizes so hotly about, that denying is a really strong word for them. By denying, by this mindset of denying, it can slowly to become acceptance when there is a form of discussion, healthy discussion made by a group of people, by society. So by banning this, the only power that society has, the only power that us as normal people has, by denying by banning it, it is really an ineffective and a detrimental initiative, because you're just stripping away our power of just letting our thoughts and letting the people know what we think as an individual. But instead, we are just, by discussions, by publications, by any type of form of speech, we're just trying to gain knowledge, and by that, constructive criticism, feedback, and all other knowledge gained by other people. And it could be a factor for good research in the future, not only for society, but for researchers, for scientists to see in a more depth view why climate change is not only man-made, because we are seen to be forced that climate change is only our fault, since it is not. So as outside of the house, we believe that by banning it is ineffective. And with that, I've never been more proud to oppose the motion today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Opposition Whip. Now let's hear the reply speech coming from the government team.
All right. Before getting into my reply speech, I'd like to just briefly talk about the focus of our motion today. The motion is this House would ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate changes. And our points are that when we're talking about discussions, when we're talking about healthy discussions, we're talking with facts, with statistics. And the truth is, when you're looking at these skeptics, these people that often post about about denying climate change, they're not really talking about with facts. They're not really talking with statistics. They're talking about their own personal opinion, which is not valid at this point. Because this is the reality. This is the world. We're talking about facts and data. Personal opinion doesn't account for how it affects climate change and so forth, because this is real life and climate change is real. So back to wrapping up our points, the government team points. we'd like to, the first point is, of course, the detrimental effects of climate change on the environment and how not banning man-made climate, not banning any speech and publication related to denying man-made climate change. This is going to slow down the progress of our society in order to combat the climate change problems we are facing right now. And second, the opposition is frequently mentioning about freedom of speech, and the reality is there is a difference between freedom of speech and fake news. I agree that we can have healthy discussions, healthy debates on climate change, and when these discussions are held in a scientific and data backed discussions, we're not going to see anybody denying man-made climate change, because this is a reality, and it is scientifically undeniable, because all the statistics here, all the research are done on the effects of climate change and how man-made inventions, man-made atrocities, everything, factories, wars, the oil that's being dug, all of that is affecting our climate. And by not banning any speech and publication denying man-made climate change, we are essentially pulling the society backwards. We are not facing this problem. I completely understand what you're talking about when you said it's good for discussion and so forth. But as I've mentioned before, when we are discussing in a scientific context, and we are right now, it is utterly the blood truth that man-made climate change is real, and we have to deal with it right now before it gets worse, because it is definitely getting worse. All the statistics I've read before and so forth, we are heading towards somewhere we don't want to be at all. And by not banning the speech and publication denying man-made climate change, we are essentially going towards that dark future, because this is definitely going to limit our potential in facing the problem of climate change. Because as the first speaker has mentioned, I like his point, because I believe that it actually supports the government team. Because when you say that people have influence through their publication and through their speeches, that is true. And that is exactly why we have to ban any publication and speeches denying man-made climate changes, because the truth is it is real. And when you're influencing people to believe that it's not real, that is a problem. And we are not gonna go towards a better future with that type of mindset. And that's all for me. I rest my case. Thank you.
I thank the government for the reply speech. We shall now hear the reply speech coming from opposition. You may start.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we can see that on the government side, they are so fixated on scientific evidence about climate change is caused by mankind, which we already, as I mentioned earlier, we all agree that is true. However, ladies and gentlemen, in today's debate, the government side has failed to cater towards the minority of those, as the motion states, who are in denial, basically, as the motion is. This house would ban any speech and publication denying man-made climate change. Denying, that's the key word, meaning there are people like making these publications and these sort of forms of speeches because they're in denial, they're in disbelief. They don't believe that man-made is the number one cause of climate change. So, but we on the opposition side, we believe that, as as rebutted by my whip speaker, that we should not ban these these publications, be it online or newspaper or whatnot, in speeches, as it allows for a healthy discussion online, because this as she mentioned, this denying mindset, can still eventually change to become acceptance. How so? Well, through these publications and speeches, because there will be healthy discussions. Maybe, they maybe it could be a whole article about why climate change is bad, and I mean why climate change is bad, obviously, and why mankind is the number one problem, the sole cause, very essence of why climate change exists in the first place, because of men and all of their pollutions and contributions to to the climate change. But through these articles, for example, maybe there could be someone of proper knowledge with enough empathy and understanding could enlighten said article publisher and get give constructive criticism on why this isn't true and why that mankind is actually responsible for these changes in the climate. And from there, maybe the person in denial who published in a form of publication of denying man-made climate change could come to a realization, which is obviously a good thing for both sides, because I think both the government and the opposition side believe that and can agree that man-made is humans are definitely a major and arguably number one cause of climate change. And now on their side, yes, they keep on mentioning about scientific evidence on climate change, and we are not denying that. But as I mentioned, we are catering for the minority, the stakeholders, the members of society who are in denial, because we of the opposition side strongly believe that by having these publications and speeches, we are able to have, as I mentioned, these open discussions. And of course, there is a difference between freedom of speech and fake news and whatnot. Yes, but these open discussions is what we are promoting, which will eventually change the mindset of the people in denial to help them realize the importance of climate change as well. And finally, the opposition side, the government side, um, they all keep on mentioning about how they should ban publications and speeches, but they never mention about how. Then what about these people who want to voice out their opinions in the first place? They will never give these people a medium to voice out their opinions and gain constructive criticism. So what will happen then? They'll just find another way, right, to like promote this denial of man-made uh, climate change, when in reality, through these publications and speeches, they could actually learn something and come to a realization. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that side opposition has won this debate. With that, I proudly oppose.
I thank the opposition team for the reply speech.
Pardon?
I thank the opposition team for the reply speech. That's what I say. All right, cool. So that was a really good debate. You guys want feedback or not?